Hi, in this video I'd like to show you how I would go about taking notes and then creating an organized note-taking packet. So the first thing I'd like to ask you to do is perhaps start by looking at your research topic in the form of a question. So approaching it as a question, let's say for example that I'm interested in researching more information about depression among Latina adolescents because Julia, the main character in this novel, is Latina, she's Mexican, and she's going through some depression, and her family doesn't understand. No one steps in to intervene. So I would start with this question. How does depression impact Latinas, especially children of immigrants? Because I want to get to know more about that. So that would be my general broad question. And then I would ask you to come up with what I call subtopic guiding questions. Now, you can come up with these subtopic guiding questions before you start going in deep in your research, or you may start reading your sources that you find or watching documentaries or videos, and then that will help you come up with subtopic guiding questions. So let's say I've been doing some reading, and one of the more specific subtopic guiding questions that falls under this broad umbrella would be, why are Latinas, what are some causes for depression among Latina adolescents? So I want to know causes. What are symptoms of depression in teenagers? Then maybe I want to find out what can families, or what can be done to help teenagers going through depression? And then maybe I want to know, maybe my next question will be lifelong impact of teen depression. Like, is this something that Julia is going to have to be vigilant about? What can she do? So just to get an idea, like, this is where I would go with my subtopic guiding questions. But I'm keeping an open mind. And so as I read, I might decide, you know what? Scrap this one. I want to focus on something else that I just found that was interesting. Okay, so the packet that I have given you for organized note-taking looks like this. Basically, if this is your main overall question, whatever your main overall question is, I'm going to ask that you put it in here. And now my boxes got weird. Okay, so this is my answer right here. So my general research question, the one guiding my whole project, is here. My first subtopic guiding question is going to be, what are some causes? So I will, oh, my boxes are getting weird. so we can just ignore the boxes, I suppose. Okay, so this is my first subtopic guiding question, causes. All right, so now because this is my first subtopic guiding question, whenever I come across information about this, meaning quotations that I can include in my essay, I'm going to put the quotations right here. So I've got boxes for up to 4 different quotations. You might only have 1, you might have 2, you might have 5. I don't know. That's up to you to decide. But let's say that I'm reading this article. Where did it go? Nope, that's not it. Sorry, 1 second here. Okay, so let's say that I have this article here. This article is from the National Library of Medicine, and it had some information for me. Latina adolescents experience higher levels of depressive symptoms than Caucasian and African American adolescents. Many studies found that the cultural stressors contribute to this disparity, but these findings have not been integrated. Okay. All right, so I'm not going to use that one. I'm reading. What were the results of this research? Okay. Discrimination, family culture conflict. Okay, Julia definitely has this. Family culture conflict, acculturative and bicultural stress. So if I don't know what those terms mean, I would Google them. That's what I recommend that you do. But acculturative and bicultural stress means that an immigrant is going through the process of becoming acculturated into the new culture, in this case, the American dominant culture. Bicultural means obviously she's of 2 cultures. She's of Mexican culture, but she's also born and raised in the US, so she's she's on her path to being Americanized. So she's got some bicultural stress going on. That definitely applies to her. Intra-group rejection. So inside her own cultural group, her parents, her aunts and uncles here in the US, there's some rejection. They don't understand her. There's definitely immigration stress because her parents are undocumented and she's afraid of including that in her college application essay. And her teacher, Mr. Ingham, is insisting that she should write that down, that she's a first generation, American, but her parents are undocumented and the kind of stress that leaves them. Let's see. So context of reception, meaning how she is received. Okay, so I like this quotation. So I'm going to write down that all of these have been associated as cultural stressors that can lead to depressive symptoms. So I would copy that into my notes over here. So I'm going to put the quotation here. Oops, it's very long. Okay, so this is the first quotation, and my immediate follow-up response to this, so that I don't forget why I picked it, I'm going to say, Julia definitely experiences several of these stressors, including So I'm going to include these here so I don't forget. All right, family. So then I would talk about, this one, the family culture conflict. I would talk about how she is bicultural and she's experiencing the stress of her parents not understanding why she wants to go out, why she wants to go away to college, why she loves to go to the museum and can't just be happy staying home. I could talk about how her family, her immigrant family, aunts and uncles, don't understand why she just would prefer to read a book rather than sit at a party. I could talk about the application where she felt stressed because she was worried that if she admitted her parents were undocumented, her parents might be deported. Any one of these, okay? So I would go in and explain these, and then I would probably find a quotation to support this. So I'm going to say I would focus on, let's just go with the last example, immigration stress. So I would find the quotation where Mr. Ingham, or is it Ingman? Ingman is encouraging her to write about her parents being undocumented, but she is afraid to disclose that. So I would find the quotation and then I would bring it back to this, that this is a stress factor. And according to this article, that it has been associated with something that can cause depression in Latino youth. Okay, so the part up here that says source, what I would ask you to do with that is just write down the source title so you don't forget. So that came from the National Library of Medicine. And the title of this page is Cultural Stressors and Depressive Symptoms. Okay. So I'm going to say National Library of Medicine. Okay, so that came from the National Library of Medicine. So that later when I go to cite it, I can remember which source it was. So what I have here is one nice big paragraph that includes a quotation from my research, my follow-up response where I connect it back to Julia, how I see this in Julia. I find a quotation from the novel that shows this, and then I'm going to have my own analysis and commentary on causes of depression, several of which Julia experiences. Okay, so this gives me one solid paragraph. So that's just for that subtopic guiding question. So if I have another quotation, if I start getting really in depth and say not only did she have immigration stress, she also had intra-group rejection, then I find a quotation from the book and I include it here in my own follow-up response. Okay, so then I get to the second subtopic guiding question. And for that I had, let's see, what was symptoms? What are some symptoms of depression in teenagers? So that's going to be my second subtopic guiding question. And then when I find information for that, again, I'm going to name the name of the source. I'm going to have a quotation. I'll have the follow-up response. I'll tie it into Julia's experience. What were the symptoms? Give examples, and so on. So by the time I have finished this packet, not only will I have the quotations from the sources, I will have them in somewhat of an organized fashion. so that each one will lead to a solid paragraph. So I hope this video helped, me walking you through that. This would be my third, no, this would be my third guiding, my fourth. But like I said, keep looking at your sources, keep reading, keep filling that out, and don't be married to these, right? Because these might change. Your subtopic guiding questions might change the more you read. Okay, thank you, and I'm here if you have any questions.